Right, for my second video of the day, you know, again, I'm on the attack, and then whenever I feel vulnerable, then I will attack. That's how you survive on the battlefield. You know, that's the gist of it. Is that whenever there's a threat or perceived threat, strike first, strike true, eliminate the possibility. Especially if the rules have already been broken. And since I am not a violent person, or at least I don't want to be a violent person, see, I have the capacity for violence, as do the rest of Canadians, as do many Canadian families that have been here since Confederation, if not before that. And, as I've said in other videos, I understand push and pull factors of immigration. I understand the the requirement for agreements amongst companies, and the continuance and necessity of certain business practices in order to maintain control and conformity and so on and so forth. But you don't underestimate the amount of information that your employees gather or contractors gather about you. That's the whole point of the non-disclosure agreements and clearances, so to speak. So like controlled goods and whatnot. But these things don't really mean much in the age of information. It's very easy to find out, if not find the people that can teach you by the numbers how to make explosives or how to demolish and cause destruction to power grids. You don't need to have that much anymore to accomplish that. This is not a threat. I'm just stating these things for the facts. I have no intent. I have no plans, and I'm not interested in causing harm to other people. What I'm interested in is informing other people, so therefore they have the consent to arm themselves with further information and enable themselves to be educated. Because if you're not using the greatest muscle that we've been given by by God, then I can't help you. I really can't. Um, there's just again, this is a generational thing, and it's the crux you were talking about, across of demographics, economics, and resources. Because this is the ebb and flow of economics, and I cannot stand to watch my heritage and my people be erased by foreign interest and foreign, influence, and brought in by my own government. I really can't, and I will not stand for it. I look at all these people, and they're way much better off than I am. Right? It's not fair. It really isn't fair that these people come over here, they're given special treatment, and then they completely and utterly ignore me in the process, or anyone of my skin color or heritage. This is discrimination, right? By the numbers, it's discrimination. And, other people have stated this in the past, and they've been ignored or they've been, starved out. And, those practices are also, violent, right? They're passive aggressive. They contain microaggressions and so on and so forth. If I'm going to use that language, and they ignore the victims. That's the gist of the matter, right? Um, as much as I appreciate people, there's a limit to my love, and there's a limit to my care. There's a limit to a lot of other people's compassions, right? We did not vote people in for this to happen. We voted people in to maintain a certain standard of living, right? And this is why my generation has complaints about older people, because they don't seem to understand nor care, because they had life so much easier after the Second World War, right? When their parents gave birth to them in the 50s and the 60s, and everything was basically granted to you. Okay, you need a job, go down the street to Buddy Boy over there. He'll let you work at the gas station. No big deal, right? Oh yeah, well, if you lose your job, just go to the next person. Whatever. We live in a very different era. People of my generation and of Generation X, the boom bust and echo people, right? So there's always going to be blowback, and this is the echo, right? This is the pushback, as far as I'm concerned, because it's 3 generations from wealth to ruin. You think you know what's going on, but you don't, because people get to the point where they rest on their laurels and they get old and fat and fucking ugly. There's an expiration to our fertility. There's an expiration, to my kindness, and many other emotions and principles, because I just don't have time for this shit anymore. I don't. Really don't. I've run all the scenarios that I can, in my head, thinking about this. If you want to call me an idiot, to go on and do that. But Einstein worked at a mail center as a postal clerk, figuring out the equation, right? And so I was thinking about human behavior, our relationships, and our history, because you can't examine humanity without examining the other disciplines. So that includes scientific pursuits and artistic ones. So more holistic approach, maybe cross-disciplinary, whatever you want to call it. Again, I don't think of myself as the smartest person in every room. Maybe sometimes I am, but I've driven across this country 7 times. I got sick and tired of doing it. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that done the same thing, and there's people out there that's their job as truckers and so on and so forth, and their opportunities for prosperity are next to nothing, right? They leverage their trucks for millions of dollars, and then they're stuck into these contractual obligations, and by the leverage of the contract, they are therefore enslaved. And I don't care what you think about me. I really don't. These things have to be stated, because the prime example that I could think of would be, well, okay, the Tower of Babel from the Bible, in that when people were brought in from afar to build the tower, right? Everybody was speaking the same language up until a certain point, when the king or the ruler decided that I want to build it higher despite the face of God, which is a metaphor about ambition. When you build an empire so large that you don't even know what the person on the very lowest rank is doing, then you got a huge problem. You know, Too big to fail, corporate warfare, corporate welfare, and the use of contractors as slaves, if not immigrants, then they're in through a complicated system of laws and measures that separates the worker from the contractee, so the customer, that which displaces the liabilities and the responsibilities of looking after that person, and in under the guise of reducing operating costs, if not overall labor costs. When the fact of the matter is that you end up hiring less intelligent people, and they make mistakes more often, and then they start talking to each other, and they have bitter rivalries with each other. And I observed this at Bombardier, with the Global 7000 program. Is very Anyone that was there understands what was going on, and can also substantiate the my observations and my deductions, right? Because you look at it, and it was a great waste of resources, and a lot of the people there didn't even know what the fuck they were doing. Some people, more than a number of people, were smoking marijuana on the Bombardier premises while working on aircraft. This is the truth, okay? And I got to put this out there, because if I don't stand up, if I don't put this out there, then other people might not either. And the collusion the profiteering and the racketeering will continue because I don't want to work on aircraft or produce aircraft for people that are of international status, that have no scruples, and that have poor morals, and that don't have an upright belief system. I don't want to participate in human trafficking. I don't want other people to be victims of it. I don't want to be a criminal, right, in order to make a living, right? I got to bring this stuff above board. And, to further reiterate my point, I do appreciate Aerotech and Bombardier for their existence and the times that I worked there. Um, but egos being egos, when people think that they can make their careers as something, that's another thing that I experienced. Or they'll try and set you up to fail, or they try to ram their way through a process, like or through an NRC, which is a nonconformance report, or yeah, an NCR, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, what happened at Bombardier was that all these different factions of immigrants started fighting each other, and they wouldn't produce. They would just sit off to the side and be lazy and just smoke cigarettes, and a lot of time they're just walking around the plant premises. So it was basically participating in uh, a large organization of vampirism to the government, because everybody is very well familiar with the story of Bombardier versus and the Quebec government and the Canadian government. And to think that some of these aircraft go on to be surveillance aircraft with Saab, that's a big problem. It's a conflict of interest to have. If you're gonna have these vehicles of high security and of great importance for the overwatch of an entire country, if not an entire battlefield, and a military, whom have more important things to deal with than spies and interlopers and infiltrators, because this is corporate espionage, right? Corporate espionage exists. We have to acknowledge that. And I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be made the punching bag of the industry. Even though people look at me, might say I'm the evil one. I don't really care. I really don't. Because it's not a matter of how much information I know. I know people that know more information than I do about specific subjects within the industry and other industries. All I got to do is go and ask them, and that's that. Because there's no more secrets. There are no more secrets. And again, when people think that they're secure and they've won, you just lost the game. And this is how the institutions of society are eroded. And so that, yes, I understand that humanity and different ethnicities, we've been fighting each other since the dawn of humanity. What, sapiens versus Neanderthals, or apes versus bonobos, etc. This, yeah, and this is just part of humanity. But once it gets out of hand, and then we start having anarchistic groups going around, looting and shooting and colluding, you know, uh, when the gangs get too big, then public safety goes down. It's pretty obvious, right? Public trust goes down with it into authority, and I don't need to go into that in any further depth, because it's just the reality, right? It's just the reality. And I'll put this up. I don't expect anybody to watch it. I'm talking to myself a lot of the time here. Um, that I just can't continue to allow this to happen. And I don't like it, because I see the frowns, and I see the suffering in my fellow brothers and sisters on the floor, who give their entire lives to building up a skill set. right? Only for it to be undermined by idiots who only care about the money and don't care about the quality. They don't care about the service for other people. Their evaluation of life is, very basic. It's very it's very frustrating and it's insufferable, right? I don't want to beg, borrow, and steal just to have my position of power. I got nothing to prove, and I'll use my voice even if I'm sick right now to scream at the top of my lungs until this message breaks through that Canada is not what it used to be, and it was only by what Canada was that we were allowed these social movements within the past 20 years for more freedoms and liberties. But again, as is the principle, the more liberty and freedom there is, the more slavery there is. Right? We got to stop doing that. Right? Liberalism always leads to slavery. That's the gist of it. I'll reiterate. I don't like having immigrants here that are then pushed into visas and are given more benefits. Honeypot, so to speak, when they're seeking out to have better lives. I don't like that there's differential treatment and favoritism, and that even foreign nationals are given positions to contract with the military. These demographic favoritisms. So over just a special interest identity politics. So placing someone of lesser experience and less familiarity in a position that's more deserving to someone else. That's the gist of it, right? Who is more effective by meritocracy? And again, I'm going in circles at this point, so I'll just end here. Enough is enough. If you come here and you trample over this country, I'm going to send you home one way or another. There's a lot of people out there that feel the same. So better it be done peacefully than not.